So I want to talk about why I am not on HRT. A couple of people have, after watching my videos, recommended HRT for me. I've tried to respond to a couple of people. I just want to explain. Okay. Before I go there, let me just talk about HRT. So HRT is hormone replacement therapy, and now what HRT does is that it tries to replace some of the hormones which our ovaries are no longer producing. And I'll explain. When we start perimenopause, it's as if our ovaries are about to retire and they are tired. That's the simplest explanation I can find. And before they retire, they want to go out like with a bang, right? With a big bang. And then they now start producing our hormones, which are estrogen and progesterone, at a very erratic rate. Okay, so one moment the levels of estrogen are way too high, and the next moment they're at an all-time low. And all of those fluctuations is what causes all the symptoms that we have during perimenopause. Now, what hormone replacement therapy is supposed to do is to provide you with some amount of estrogen and sometimes progesterone, right? To kind of like fill up that gap so you don't feel the trough. It's kind of like evens out the pace. And so as a result of that, you don't get so many of those symptoms, or you don't get them severely. Hormone replacement therapy is a good alternative. Some people have side effects. I was taught that during my training, and I've seen that, and others don't. Others do well on it. Like I said in an earlier video, that these hormones, especially estrogen, is like a shock absorber, and once your shock absorber goes flat, we cannot absorb the shocks that are coming in from left, right, and center. So what HRT does to some extent is that it kind of like puts your shock absorber back in place to some extent, and it works really well with things like hot flashes, night sweats, the brain fog, and then with problems sleeping. One thing about HRT is that while you're on it, these symptoms, especially the ones I've talked about just now, would be much more manageable, or sometimes will appear to go away. But once you stop taking HRT, those symptoms would come flooding back. Now, doctors normally recommend that women begin to take HRT as soon as you get into the perimenopause, and that this earlier you take it, the better, because it helps us in terms of making sure that we don't have fragile bones and we don't have problems with our hearts. Because once we have reduced levels of estrogen, there's a higher risk of having something called osteoporosis, which basically just means that your bones become fragile, and if we fall, we would have a break. And then also our heart health also could become compromised. So that is it about HRT. Now, I am not on HRT because I don't have anything against it at all. The only thing is that I live in Africa, I live in Nigeria, and HRT is not available and it's not accessible. If you can find it, and that's a big if, it's extremely expensive, and you cannot guarantee like a continuous supply. I didn't find that I was perimenopausal on time. I had gone so far into it, the stumbling, until I started my training to become a certified menopause practitioner, and then I found out. But by then I had gone so far into it. I at that time felt that I had faced the worst symptom. There was no HRT available, and so what I do basically is that I take my supplements, I take herbs. I have videos on that on this channel, and lifestyle adjustments are so important. Exercise, eating healthy, prioritizing protein, fiber, vegetables, nuts, seeds, and fruits, and healthy carbs. And I try to get as much sleep as possible. I also pray a lot, I meditate a lot, and by God's grace, I've been able to, should I say, pull through. I'm way much better now than I ever have been, and it's my prayer that everyone as well would get better in no time at all.